Hey everyone, Pugs here with 2 new reviews for y'all. Today, I'm covering Jellyfish Hunter and the Fry Cook Games. And with these 2 episodes, the end of the season draws ever closer. And these are 2 pretty good episodes to start our closing out with. And as always, I just want to extend a quick thank you to everyone who's been watching, liking, commenting. Y'all know that I say this every time, this shouldn't be a surprise. And yeah, with all of that said, let's just get right into these reviews. Jellyfish Hunter is what I consider to be an underdog of Season 2. I don't see it talked about very much, and I think that most people just kind of passively enjoy it, which is valid, but I like this episode a lot, and I think it should be talked about more. The beginning of this episode is great, because it feels like it's been a while since we've seen SpongeBob jellyfishing, even though that's one of his premier hobbies alongside bubble blowing. Honestly, this scene shows that SpongeBob is an impressive jellyfisher if he's caught all of them except for the blue one. I like that jellyfish in this show literally produce jelly, which adds cows to the list of animals that they're inspired by, alongside bees and butterflies. This is also a great setup for the rest of the episode, both the jelly and the blue jellyfish. In the next scene, we see a good throwaway example of Mr. Krabs being the cheap boss that he is, giving SpongeBob a 5-minute lunch break. And of course, SpongeBob just takes it happily because he loves his job and has no concept of class consciousness. Okay, I guess you can ignore that last part, but don't actually. Anyway, the song that Fred sings after eating some of the jelly is great, and I can remember every word of that thing. And I love that this seems to be a thing that happens regularly if Mr. Krabs' line is anything to go by. Makes the world of Bikini Bottom seem a lot more fun if customers just bust out into song on the regular. I mean, I would absolutely loathe that in real life, but I can like it in fiction. Mr. Krabs is delightfully cheap in this episode, and one reason I love this episode is because when you break it down, it's about the perils of capitalism and corporate greed on the environment. That's a reason I love Squid on Strike so much too. I'm telling y'all that many episodes of this show are a critique of capitalism. Maybe one day I'll talk about that specifically, but probably not. I don't know, that's so much work. Anyway, Mr. Krabs is indeed very fun in this episode, and I love his little biking fit at the end of the episode. Like, it's so sporty. And the purple, wow, I don't know, he was really dressing up. The montage of him telling SpongeBob to get more jellyfish is great and filled with some fun visuals, such as more crabs and his pose that puts "paint me like one of your French girls" to shame. At the end of that montage, the episode gets very atmospheric, which you already know I love. The empty jellyfish fields, along with the nighttime scenery as SpongeBob walks home, and the tense and eerie feeling of his house, it's all very well done, and creates a wonderful atmosphere that leads us to the rest of the episode. I love the joke of the salesman too, like that's one of the best examples of this show's humor, I think. Old No Name is also a great addition to this episode. He doesn't even say a word, other than a buzzed, "bring it on," I guess. But he's given so much personality. I wish we could see him again, I think that would be fun. I really like how plot-driven this episode is. Not that there's any real mystery here, because viewers can guess what's going on pretty quick. Well, not even guess, we see what's going on. But I like that there's some secrecy and enigma in this episode for SpongeBob as he's taken to the factory. I like how SpongeBob immediately wants the factory shut down too, like he's an animal lover and an environmentalist. Like, that's my boy, that's my king. And small side note, but this episode reminds me a lot of Nope, the movie by Jordan Peele that came out last year. If you haven't seen that movie, then spoiler alert, because I'm going to say something real quick. But I mean, Gordy and Jean Jacket, anybody? Like, it's basically the same animal exploitation plot in a different font. Anyway, I love the respect SpongeBob has for jellyfish. It shows that he only partakes in jellyfishing for fun, as he always lets the jellyfish go and doesn't try to extract too much jelly from them like Mr. Krabs does. And the episode ends on a great bit of comeuppance from Mr. Krabs, and then we get the adorable and wholesome moment between SpongeBob and No Name, or should I say, friend. It seems like Jellyfish Jam, but done even better. And I honestly have nothing else to say about Jellyfish Hunter, other than it's a really good episode that I've got no issues with at all. It's a perfect fit for my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9.3 out of 10. Next up, we have the Fry Cook Games. This is a fun spoof on the Olympic Games, and all around just a very enjoyable episode. I love the environment in this episode too, and the whole idea of the Fry Cook Games as well. I like how even though nobody eats at the Chum Bucket, they're usually a top contender at these games somehow. You know, I love when Plankton gets small wins. I also really like the banter and competition between SpongeBob and Patrick in this episode, which is what carries most of these 11 minutes. Dumped, I'm with Stupid, and many future episodes need to take some notes, because see, this is how you make Patrick act mean without making him a complete jerk ass. If only the writers would stay consistent on this, because as we go on through the show, we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. You already know. But I digress. The montage of SpongeBob and Patrick competing is pretty entertaining as well, as is the longer scenes of them competing before the montage. The fish sticks thing is hilariously morbid, and I love how SpongeBob and Patrick growl at each other when the huge guy in the background just like makes the funniest noise. I also really like how SpongeBob and Patrick here parallel Mr. Krabs and Plankton, which is of course as subtle as a neon sign. And then, of course, we have the final fight between SpongeBob and Patrick. I love the bit of Patrick ripping off his clothes to show an office suit before his suddenly muscular body that brings Dragon Ball to mind. I thought that was a nice touch. And the fight itself is alright, but of course it gets much better after My Name's Not Rick. The licking thing was weird and uncomfortable, though. I feel the same as SpongeBob in that one. That's just nasty. But then I love that what causes the two to stop fighting is the color of their underwear. Like, that's just so SpongeBob and Patrick. It makes me think of the scene years later in Don't Look Now, where the two swap pairs of underwear so they don't have to dye in their own underwear. Both of these scenes are very funny to me. I also love that they just decide to walk off to the wonderful sounds of hookah, I don't know. It used to be known as Puka Bee, until we realized that Puka A and Puka B are the same song, except for a whistle part that is never played in the show, so I honestly don't even know anymore. Anyway, of course Patrick gets one last great line in with, "These were white when I bought them." It makes me wonder where Patrick even gets his money from. Maybe he gets residuals from the award he got in Big Pink Loser. I don't know. Does he collect unemployment? I don't know. Anyway, there is one last thing before I sum up my thoughts on this episode, and as you can see, it's clearly a little tangent. So I've got a fun fact for any of y'all who are interested in SpongeBob music. Did you know that Moana plays in this episode? And I don't mean the movie, I mean the track, Moana. I would say listen carefully when SpongeBob is talking about the honor of bringing home the gold to the Krusty Krab, which I will link in the description for you all to try your hand out in listening. But even then, I'm not sure if I can hear it. But it's there. People have shown that. I wonder why they even put it in if they decided to overlay Heavenly Voices B on top of it. Maybe they went with Moana first, but then changed their minds and just never got rid of the underlying track? I don't know. I don't know anything about sound design, so I don't even know if that's how it works. Anyway, let's move on. So, I like the fry cook games. I have no problem with it, other than it isn't incredibly funny. But this is less because there are jokes that were tried and failed, and more because there weren't an abundance of jokes in the first place. But I think this works fine for this episode. So that's why this episode is being put in my amazing tier, coming in with a score of 9 out of 10. As always, just gonna end with some closing thoughts of mine, though I don't really think I have any, because this is like the penultimate episode pair of season 2, but like, obviously I'll say all my end of season 2 stuff in the next closing thoughts and in the season 2 overview video, so I really shouldn't say anything now. So I don't think I have much to say. I mean, 2 amazing tier episodes in a row. That's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. I really like both of these. I really love Jellyfish Hunter. I don't know. I think it's super underrated, but I could be lying. I'm not sure. I just don't see anyone talk about it. And in Fry Cook Games, I don't think it's underrated, but I don't see many people talk about it either, but I wouldn't call it underrated. But yeah, I mean, I think that's everything I have to say on these 2 episodes. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the review here, and I will see you guys next time for the last 2 episodes of season 2.